My goodness gracious, what's up, peeps? Welcome back to more CS News. Thanks to all of you guys who've been subbing, leaving comments, and also sending me stories over on Twitter. It's been a really fun last few weeks. Let's keep it going with all of the off-season changes. First and foremost, most importantly, it is going to be, apparently, according to HLTV, Monesy staying with G2. This, of course, comes with a bit of a, a bit of a maybe in there. If you guys don't want to go read the full article, please, I encourage you to do so. We'll not be reading you the full thing, although some small tidbits that are kind of important. Obviously, G2, if you guys remember, I think it was their CEO making recent statements about how Monesy, he's the heart of this team, and pretty much up to him what the future he wants to be inside of G2, right? They're going to build around him, and this is the real start without Nico alongside with him of what could be his legacy if he wants to carry the torch. G2 is willing to give him said torch. But the article also notes his contract is rumored to be up late in 2025, and G2 is not fielding offers, and so it seems for the first half of 2025, all right, he's with G2. They're not going to field any offers, any interest in him, but by late next year, they're like, oh no, Monesy's probably going to have his options book open of where he wants to go. But that gives us some time with G2 and Monesy, which I think is awesome. I really do want to see what he can do with this crew and how this crew, rivals their 2024 performance, which aside from the Shanghai Major, I mean, even with the Major included, right, it's still a playoff contender, and that's more than Na'Vi did, and they had the best year of anybody, right? And second to Na'Vi would probably be G2 in terms of trophies and appearances. I would imagine they're up there alongside teams like Vitality and Spirit, right? That probably your easiest top four teams of last year. But G2 had a pretty stellar performance, and also with some stand-ins. So too did other teams. Vitality with Jax, I believe, coming back. Like a lot of these teams did well with stand-ins, but G2 winning an event with a Stewie 2K stand-in and making a number of other grand final appearances. So how can they do without Nico, right? How do you replace Nico on this roster? And can you open up Monesy anymore? It will be G2 Monesy, at least seemingly for the majority of 2025. And now the next questions that need to be answered is who finishes out that roster. As also according to HLTV, this being striker, it will be Jimmy Boy. I've got a real serious question for all of you guys, because pronunciation for me is a huge thing, because we've all done this. We've mispronounced a name because we've heard a broadcaster say this or a desk talent say this, and then the player says this, and there's so many languages in CS. Do you guys say Jimpphat or Jimpphat? Because when it comes to spelling, I want to say Jimpphat, but I've heard people say Jimpphat, and I just call him Jimmy Boy because that's easiest, and it's also calling him Jimmy's kind of a cool nickname. But anyway, stop yapping.
Picked apart, So
Jimmy to Falcons isn't likely, huh?
It seems as if that was like tied directly to Monesy, and if Monesy was going, Jimmy would have gone as well, and that seems like that's backtracked now. So it really looks like kind of Monesy staying or having his organization say he's still not for sale, or they're still not going to let him go until his contract's out. Whatever the situation exactly is, like whether
it will be Jimmy, who is apparently not going to Falcons according to Striker, because Monesy's not going, which to me was also like, oh, this is confirming two things at once. Monesy's not going to join Nico, which a lot of people were hoping for. I actually thought it was going to happen. And apparently that's because G2 is like, no amount of money, Falcons. You took Nico. We're going to take your bag for Nico. You're not getting Monesy, Falcons. Stop being selfish, all right? But it seems like Jimmy is also not going because Monesy is not going to Falcons. And that brings more interesting questions around M0nes, because M0nes had such a strong finish to the year, and that lineup is one of my more favorite lineups. I've told you guys one of my favorite trios out there. Shuhei, you got to give him credit, what he has done and been able to do, not just at big events, but especially at majors, leading these new lineups ever since the Gamer Legion rise he has had. Shuhei is the future, right? You definitely want him to retain in M0nes. I do like Exertion, and I like Jimmy, but Jimmy's also spoken about he doesn't know what his future plans are going to be with or without M0nes, and he certainly would also have options. So Falcons up in the air, G2 up in the air, M0nes up in the air. Jimmy, where are you going? My DMs are open if you want to let me know. I won't tell anyone. Which brings us to my favorite part of this video, and I will be doing this for a solo video with some added stuff in the future. You'll understand when you see it. Does Donk and Team Spirit deserve a Graffiti for, of course, the 1v5 they had, or he had? He actually had multiple ace clutches during this major, which is just disgusting. But if you guys somehow missed Donk's 1v5 ace clutch against Heroic, this was not to win a major. Keep that in mind. I think context does matter. But people are now wondering, after Team Spirit They tweeted out this, and they won a graffiti for Donk's ace clutch. Do you think that Donk deserves a CS graffiti?
Ready to celebrate progression for Team Spirit into the playoffs, but Heroic decide to silence Spirit. And Donk will go forward alone, but there's so many targets. And he can often prove enough on his own. And can this little nuisance pull off an unbelievable clutch to keep his team in it? Yes, he can! Donk the Destroyer with a 4K!
And for me personally, this is not me being a Spirit hater. I'm going to say no, only because, yes, this might have been a playoff match and a very high-profile major match, but this was not to win a major, and they actually eventually lose this map. I think that context matters when it comes to graffitis, at least in my opinion. When it comes to criteria, the moment has to mean something even bigger than itself. Is it one of the best plays of the entire year? And was it at a major? Yes and yes. Does it deserve a CS graffiti? It seems that like the criteria for graffiti are astronomically high. And so if we're keeping that bar, if he would have done this in the major grand finals against FaZe and they win the major, 100% this should be a graffiti. But he did it against Heroic, and then they lose the map. So it's like, what do you guys think? I'll leave it open-ended. And then very lastly, for all of you guys, I just want to get this clip freaking out there. I wanted to almost make it half of a video because it's so freaking cool. But speaking of different clutches out there that might have been a graffiti if FaZe had taken down Spirit in that grand finals, it was the Ropz and FaZe Rain 2v4 clutch. We do have, thanks to Day over on Reddit, thanks to all of you guys on Reddit, you guys are awesome catching these moments and being able to post them. Only reason I even see them, thanks to you, because we had the Ropz POV on his jumping op shot, which is about as sick as you think it is. So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm also loving doing the CS news. As always, thank you guys all for being here, for leaving comments, for subbing as of late. You guys have been killing it, and I really do appreciate it. It goes a long way. So till next time, drink up for me. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Take care.